Welcome. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing another monthly wrap up this time of November because I feel this has been one of my best months yet, even though I did cheat a little bit and I read a lot of novellas. Starting with Thick Fox, which, oh my god, this book is dark. Like, pitch black dark. Major trigger warnings for CA, which is a big part of the book and plot. So I wouldn't recommend it if you're not ready to tackle some very hard and heavy themes that are in this book. I read this when it came out in 2017, so I do actually have the first version of the book, and I didn't know that it was banned in some places and actually edited, so that contributed. I have no idea how the new version differs from the past version, so yeah. I feel I have to explain the plot in order for you to get it, why it was so dark, and I struggle so much to read this book. The book follows Dolly and Rabbit. Those are not the real names, but those are the names they decided to go by. And it starts when they were children. Oh god, I almost can't speak. The book starts when they were children, up until their teenagehood. Dolly had a mental breakdown when she was 15, which I think contributes to the unreliable narrator trope. And Rabbit spent his whole teenagehood in a prison. Oh, also, I forgot. I finished this on November 10th of 2025, and it took me about a week, I think, to read. I was about to DNF it during the, I think, last 15 to 10%, but I pushed through, so I actually DNF'd it. And then I picked it up again. So that's why I cannot tell you how long it took me because it says I started reading this on November 9th. But like I was saying, they reunite again when they are in their 20s, if I'm not mistaken, and they go on a rampage, taking revenge on all of the men that hurt them when they were children. It has a lot of Alice in Wonderland themes, but I don't think it is a retelling. Oh my god. It's just, the book is very dark. Very, very dark. And I had such a hard time reading it, especially as a survivor. I just, wow. I, yeah, I had to push through. And I was almost not going to, but because I had so little left to actually finish it, I pushed myself to make it count towards my reading goal. I rated this a 4.5 because it was so hard for me, but it's actually a really good book and it's sort of satisfying. I get why I liked it when I was younger. Actually, I read this when I was an adult, but I get why I liked it when I was younger and why I had so much trouble now that I'm a little bit older. The book doesn't shy away from describing the murder scenes and or the erotica. Some of the aspects were a little bit too much for me. I am not into blood play anymore. So, but I don't judge anyone who does it. I think you can do it if you're safe with the partner you're doing it with, but I just won't recommend it to a lot of people. In fact, I think I'm not into erotica anymore. I don't know why, but it's just like not my thing. I don't know. I guess my tastes have changed, but still, it was a really good book despite all of that. I just felt myself cringing in a lot of places, but I do like how passionate Rabbit was about his little dolly. I see a lot of people wanting to read the original version. I've actually posted on Tome, I think is how it's pronounced, which is one of the apps for tracking your reading. and I got a lot of comments of people wanting to read the book and excited to read the book, but they weren't able to find the book for some reason. It's not being sold in a lot of places, and I think it's like 100 and something in Amazon. So I'm very glad I got the original version when it came out. And I'm pleasantly surprised to see how much my reading tastes have changed throughout the years. Like, I'm not into such dark and heavy themes anymore, but I have a lot of old books where that was one of the biggest parts of the plot, and I do plan on tackling some other reads that are similar. Okay, moving on to Welcome to Shadowhunter Academy, which is one of the short stories from Tales of the Shadowhunter Academy, and actually have the short stories instead of the full book because I bought them as soon as they came out. And I'm actually glad I have that because I bought the Magnus Bane book completely, like the collection, instead of the short stories, and it was such a struggle to get to that through that book. So this book actually follows Simon on his first day at the academy trying to become a shadow hunter because it was opened up again after the war, and since they lost so many shadow hunters, they have a lot of mundanes that they plan on ascending to become shadow hunters. And Simon, that lost his memory, thought it was a good idea to actually go to the Shadowhunter Academy to try to become a Shadowhunter. It explains what happened after he met Izzy and Magnus again, and after he went to the wedding and met Clary and all of them. So he doesn't have his full memory, but he does get some tidbits here and there. I actually gave this book 5 stars because I enjoyed it so much. I love meeting the new characters. I love George and the fact that he's a Lovelace and the fact that he's so freaking funny. This book made me realize Simon is one of my favorite characters of the Shadowhunter universe. And this book is so funny. Like, Izzy going to the academy to determine her relationship and warn all the other girls to not mess with Simon and to not even look at him made me chuckle so bad. So yeah, 5 stars. I highly, highly recommend. And I actually had a Fable reader comment on my finish list because they want to actually read the books, but they're just scared of the world building. And I totally get it. These books are a lot. They have a lot of world building, but I love that about them. That's one of my favorite things about Cassandra Clare and the Shadowhunter universe. And it makes a lot of sense the fact that the Lovelace or this branch decided to retire from shadow hunting and become sheep thieves because Jessamine would appreciate that so much. She was so lazy, and that's one of the things George says, that the branch of Lovelace is very lazy. And yeah, I get it. Moving on to The Lost Herondale, which is the second one of the Tales from Shadowhunter Academy. Oh, also, I forgot. Welcome to the Shadowhunter Academy. I finished on November 11, and it took me, that's actually, I started on November 7, which took me about 3 days. Now, The Lost Herondale took me a little bit longer. I started on November 11 when I finished Welcome to Shadowhunter Academy, but I actually finished this one on November 24 because I took a month. I was dealing with some family that came to visit. And I enjoyed this one. I probably was gonna rate it a lot higher than I'm actually gonna rate it, but I think this is a 4.25 star book. This one tackles the story of a shadow hunter that was a Herondale. I think his name was Stephen Herondale. And what happened to him when he actually ran away from a battle and a mission that they were meant to, like, I think they were going to kill some warlocks and he ran away from it. And the clave is very hard. So they wanted to give him a punishment of cutting his hands or something like that, killing him, but they couldn't because he wasn't able to be found. And instead of doing it to him, they did it to his pregnant wife and children. his kid. She was pregnant. So the kid wasn't even born yet. But we actually get the full story from Katerina, who was involved, and she actually saved the kid, raised him up, and just let him go out into the world without actually becoming a shadow hunter. So there's a branch of Herondales still out there that has no idea they're shadow hunters. And the only one that knows is Katerina, which is one of my favorite characters, and Simon, which is another one of my favorite characters. I had a lot of fun reading it. Katerina, like I said, is one of my favorites, so I just have no bad things to say about this book. The only thing is that because I've read other chapters that are better, this one doesn't actually fall on the 5 stars category anymore. But I like it. I enjoyed it when I read it, and I was really happy to actually read this chapter when I did. Actually, I reviewed this on Fable and gave it 4 stars. Because apparently it's a lot deeper than I expected for longer too, but by the end I was hooked. The best one so far. Loved the struggle Simon was having in the later half. Took a break around 3 and 4 quarters of the book, but overall, a great read. Because one of the struggles that Simon is having is the fact that the law is hard, but it's the law. And he doesn't think they should be so hard with the law with downworlders. And I appreciate that a lot. Not only with downworlders, but he doesn't think the law should be that hard with even Shadowhunters. Like, one of my favorite quotes is the fact that he said his father taught him to question and to actually believe in the rules before he followed them. And I relate to that so much because my family has taught me that as well. Like, you don't have to blindly follow the rules just because those are the rules. Now moving on to the Whitechapel Fiend, and this one is another 5 stars because I don't know if it's the fact that we got Will and Tessa again or the fact that it follows the Jack the Ripper mystery because that was one of my favorite mysteries I got into when I was a kid. I have on my review that I actually like Simon's character growth, but I don't actually remember how he growth because I know on the other chapters there is a lot more noticeable change. But I kind of dislike how he was treating Easy, and on this one it is explained a little bit more. But still, he shouldn't be treating Easy that way. Isabel, like, no, she's my queen. But yeah, I love seeing Tessa again. I love seeing them with full-on families. I love that we got a little bit of taste with their kids, that they're gonna be like the main characters in another series, and I'm actually a little bit more excited to tackle those series. So yeah, I gave it a 5 stars review or rating because I of the characters. It was not even the plot itself, it was the characters, but the plot contribute because it was about Jack the Ripper, and I love how it was handled. Then moving on to Nothing But Shadows. This one should have been probably a 5 star read because oh, actually, I forgot to mention. The Whitechapel Fiend I started on November 24 and actually finished it on November 25th. And Nothing But Shadows probably started on November 25th and finished it on November 25th. So it took me like a day. But this one, I gave it a rating of 4.75. And I'm gonna explain, okay? I should have loved this one. It follows James, which is Will and Tessa's son, as he goes to Shadowhunter Academy and meets his parabatai, which is Michael, and I freaking love that character so much. I'm so excited to read the book and find out more about him. Like the Last Hours series, I think it's called. But I kind of dislike James from like around the beginning. Like he grew on me a little bit more, but I disliked him so much. The fact that he was jealous and I could tell that he was just treating Michael that way. Matthew. Oh my god, I think his name is Matthew and not Michael. But the fact that he was treating Matthew that way just because he was jealous, and I could tell he was jealous, just drove me insane. And Matthew is such a good character, like he's so sweet. Yeah, 4.75 because at the end they met up, they became parabatai, they go away in their merry way together. but I was annoyed at the main character, so I didn't give it 5 stars because I'm petty like that. Moving on to The Evil We Love. This is book 5 or chapter 5 of the Tales from Shadowhunter Academy. It's a lot easier to read the chapters than it like separately than to read them together. It gives me a lot of more time to just sit with the book and the chapter and not go right ahead and continue reading. This one is The Evil We Love, and I started this on November 25th or November 26th and finished this on November 27th. And this one, I gave it a 4.25-star read. Like, don't get me wrong, I love that we're getting the backstory of how Robert and Michael had their falling out, but I was so confused as to why that was the focus of the story instead of, focusing more on the circle because that was what Robert was meant to be teaching them about. But I love the Izzy and Simon scenes, and I kind of suspected what her true intentions were when she was what she was doing. And I feel very proud of Simon as well because he didn't fall for any of her shit. He didn't fall, I meant to say. Jesus, I cannot speak. I'm so sorry about that. It was a good chapter. It's just not the best out of the chapters from Tales of Shadowhunter Academy. And that scene with the werewolf was good because it showed Valentine's true character and what he was willing to go do because of his beliefs and what he was willing to do his friends do because of his beliefs. Oh, now moving on to Pale Kings and Princess. This one is another 5 stars because I loved it so much. I loved it, loved it, loved it. This one follows Helen Blackthorn going to the academy to explain to them why fairies are so dangerous. And I hate how she was treated. I hate that she has been exiled to a Arctic wasteland just because she has fairy blood. And I love that Aline loves her so much that she's willing to go to the Arctic wasteland just in order to be with her. I love that Helen was willing to put herself through so much humiliation just in order to get Aline and her to be able to come back and actually marry. I loved to get a lot of more fairy insight, even though they get a bad rap. But of the most that I loved was the ending and getting the true story of what actually happened to her father and her uncle. So that's why it deserves a 5 star read. And I actually read this in a day as well. I started on November 27 and finished it on November 27. It was just so good. Now moving on to another 5 star read, which is Bitter of Tongue, and this one actually follows Helen's brother, Mark. Actually, it follows Simon, but whatever. And this one, Simon falls through a door. He and his friends go on a mission, and he falls through a door and ends up in Fairyland. And he's imprisoned by one of the fairies because I guess those are the rules. And he actually meets Mark that asks him a lot of questions about his family, and we can see how much he's been struggling and how what he's been put through being in Fairyland and being part Shadowhunter. Like, it made me so sad for him, and it made me so sad that Clave was willing to just throw him away and forget about him because they didn't find him important, even though he was the one that warned them about the fact that fairies were involved with Sebastian. I love that Simon told him the truth so he could stop worrying about the Clave going to rescue him and realize the Clave actually is what they stand for. I love that Simon realized that he was becoming so complacent in the Clave's treatment of downworlders, and he was just used to the rest of the Shadowhunters talking bad about them, and even and the fairies in general, because after the Cold War, The fairies are thought as less than nothing. They're thought as the most evilest of evils. And yeah, I love Saint Mark. I love that Izzy was willing to throw everything away in order to help him escape. And I love that we got an explanation as to why Mark doesn't actually just escape and go back to his family because he's scared that the hunt is gonna follow him and just inflict some sort of punishment to his family. This one really broke me. It broke my heart. But yeah, I gave it 5 stars. I hope we get a resolution on the dark artifices, or I don't even know. But the Lady Midnight and Prince of Darkness, I think, is it Prince of Darkness? Anyway, on the other series, I hope we get a resolution to him and his story. Now, moving on to the Fairy Trial. This is book 8 of the Shadowhunter Academy, and this one I gave 4 stars. This one I didn't enjoy it as much. I think it's really hard after reading Bitter of Tongue, but yeah, I don't know. It's the fact that it was so confusing, and I kept wondering where is this going throughout the whole book. Like, props to Cassandra for making it so confusing for the character and the reader, but I just don't like that at all. This one follows Simon as he drinks some sort of potion and goes through a hallucination in order to find out if he and Clary should be Parvati, because he was actually questioning, and he thought one of the funniest things is that he thought he was 19, but he actually was not because he was dead for a year and a half when he was a vampire. So he didn't actually age during that time. So in reality, he's not 19 but 18. We got to see a little bit more of Emma and Julian, and we actually got to see them when they became Parvati, which I feel these books make a really good inclusion and serve as sort of prologue. Prologue? Is that how you say it? Of yeah, I don't know how to say that, but I love that this serves as some sort of prologue to the Lady Midnight book and Emma and Julian's story, because we kind of just start. I tried to read those books, and I was just not invested in the characters. But because we're getting so much content and so much information about them on these books, it makes me a little bit more excited. This one I started on November 29 and finished it on November 29, and despite taking me a day to finish, I didn't like it that much. Now, moving on to Born to Endless Night. I love this one so much. We got to read a Raphael letter. We got to see a cute baby that is going to be Malik's baby, and it was so cute. So cute. When I was reading, I was like, oh, so wholesome. And I really, really enjoyed it. I really did. This one is one of my favorites. I gave it 5 stars because I just enjoyed it so much. And it was actually really funny. I love seeing all the characters together. We got a resolution with Simon and Alec, and the fact that Simon thought Alec hated him, and it was just because Alec was jealous that Simon was able to save Magnus. This one felt a little longer than the other ones, but I didn't mind just because it was so lighthearted. It hurt the fact that the baby was thrown away, but it healed my little heart the fact that Magnus and Alec decided to take him in, and the baby is blue. And it was so funny that Robert was telling Magnus, you can tell me if it is that you actually made the baby. And I was like, I don't think that's actually possible, dude. But yeah, this one was an amazing chapter. I liked it so much. I had a lot of fun reading it. And now I just have one last chapter of the Tales of Shadowhunter Academy, which I'm so excited to actually finish and be able to move to other books. Finally, I finished the Tales from the Shadowhunter Academy chapters or books. The last one was Angels Twice Descending, and this one was not the best. I only gave it 4 stars because although it is the last one and it was very quick, I just, yeah, I don't know what it had that it was just not hitting the mark as the other ones had. But I liked it. I enjoyed it. I felt so. I didn't expect to lose George. I should have suspected it because every time they gave us a good character that was funny and witty, they always take him away. Every time you like a character in this series, they take him away, they kill them. So I should have suspected Cassandra was gonna pull that stunt, but still, yeah, it hurt. It hurt when it happened, and it was just, yeah, I don't know how to explain it. But overall, it was a good one. I'm done, thankfully, with the Tales of Shadowhunter Academy, and I'm ready to move on to other series. But yeah, it was a good one, and I think this is it for the November reading wrap up because it's already November 30th, and I don't think I'm gonna be able to finish any other books before the month ends. So thank you for watching, and I will not see you in the next one because this is a video, of course. Bye!